Hello everybody, welcome back to the Panel by Panel Comics YouTube channel with your host Jay. Today is my buy or sell video for the new number ones that came out April 1st, 2026. So before we get into my review, if I am buying or selling these comic books, if you enjoy comic book content, please go ahead, hit that subscribe button. We are on the road to 40 subscribers. We are currently at 33 at the time of recording this. And if you enjoy this video, please go ahead and hit that like button. But let's go ahead and get started with my first book. If I am buying or selling, we have Royals. This is issue 1 from Image Comics. It is a 32-page comic for the price of $5. This book follows the two brothers of Castor and Paul. Castor is the poker player while Paul is the guy on the outside. These two brothers, they have telekinetic powers, and the thought behind this idea of them is that one can watch the TV presentation of the poker show while the other is actually in the poker competition. Now, like I said, Castor is the face, while Paul, who we see here talking to the pastor of this Tokyo church, or at least Japan church, I believe, he is the brains. Paul is the brains, Castor is the face. And these two brothers, they have telekinetic powers, and Paul is kind of on Castor's behind a little bit, because Castor gets into this tournament and the power goes out in the middle of it, and Paul starts to freak out because he's like, you need to really just stop. Just fold every hand, because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know. I need to get to a TV so I can actually let you know if something huge is going to happen. And the enemy of this comic book, or at least the villain, his name is Dacian King. He is the owner of this casino where the poker tournament is taking place. And he is also the leader of a gang called, yes, this is their name, the Bloody Cocks. And the rumor is that they are a gang that makes a lot of their money from cockfighting, but also the casino as well. But those are also rumors. We don't know. We then see the power go out, and then we see at the very end that Castor did win, and Dacian King goes to be a good sport about it all and be like, hey, hell of a game you played out there. You're a really good player. But throughout the comic book, Paul really does not like Castor, and they get into a ton of arguments. And as Paul is about to talk to Castor about potentially having a new life and using their powers for good, Castor whips out a cigarette casing, because Paul is a really strong smoker, and they get into an argument. Castor goes back to his apartment, hotel, not quite sure, it didn't really specify, with this lady, and Paul goes out for a drink and meets this young lady who has a thing for Paul. They get into like a flirt off in a way, if that's what you want to call it, and they have a really good connection, and Paul isn't so happy, but hopefully this lady and this girl can re-spark something in Paul's life. And this book wasn't the best ever, but I enjoyed the gambling aspect of it. I enjoyed the brother side of it, the sibling connection. So I am buying into Royals issue number 1. I'm hoping that the second issue is going to be better than the first issue, because the first issue had a lot of bright parts, but it could be improved upon, in my personal opinion. Next, we have Captain Marvel Dark Past. This is another issue 1, 32 pages for $5. This is written by Paul Jenkins, and this book dives into the dark past of Captain Marvel and how she has kind of had memory problems, similar to the Punisher's book with Benjamin Percy. Carol Danvers can't remember a whole lot because of Rogue, who took her powers, then returned them, but they're incomplete, so she doesn't know what's going on. She goes and has a coffee with Tony Stark, Iron Man, and Carol kind of lets Iron Man or Tony know what's going on in her life, and Tony's like, you're doing really bad, you need to go see a therapist. And Carol was like, I know you're not telling me to go see a therapist, but he was. And we see that they fought a battle earlier in the day against this group called the Wrecking Crew, which is kind of a repeat villain, at least in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or not in the MCU, but at least in the Marvel Comics universe. They have these powers now. They have these weapons that are Kree enchanted, so they are a lot stronger than they used to be. And by the way, my comic it's falling out. This one page is starting to fall out. Nothing more frustrating than getting a comic and then the same day you find out that the comic is falling apart already. But she ends up recollecting what the memory was talking about. All she could remember prior was that her dad was yelling at somebody saying, it should never have been Stevie, it should have been you. And she finds out and she remembers, he was yelling that at me. So how is she supposed to forgive him? She doesn't even want to. And she goes to her mom's grave and she's talking to her as if she's her therapist, which is not healthy. You should never talk to someone that can't respond to you as your therapist. But Carol goes to her best friend, Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew, and they have a girl-on-girl talk. Jessica's like, what's going on in your life? And Carol's kind of doing this trauma dumping, and Jessica's like, no, your love life. I don't care about all that. But then they go back to this fighting site of the Wrecking Crew, and they find this this lettering, this little piece of paper that has DNVR, and that has been in Carol's memories as well, or at least her dreams, and she wakes up from this nightmare. And at the very end, the book leaves on a cliffhanger with Carol in the iron sights or the scope of somebody that is potentially trying to kill Captain Marvel. So that's an interesting hook. I do say if you don't enjoy the character of Carol Danvers or Captain Marvel, don't get this book. But since I'm someone that wants to grow with the character, or not grow with the character, but get to know the character and get more into her history, I'm buying into Captain Marvel Dark Past issue number 1. It was good enough for me to get an issue 2, but if the second issue is not good enough, I will drop it, even though it's only a 5-issue mini. I mean, I can't just buy another 3 issues just to be a completionist, even though I probably will, if I don't like the second issue. But next, we go to Ignition Press. This is Tyler Rake, an extraction story. So this one starts off with Tyler interrogating this dude with his best friend, Pudge. That's Tyler's best friend, by the way. And he's the head of security of this club. And this dude, who we don't even end up knowing the name of, he was trying to sell product, I think is the best way to say it. And they catch him and they're trying to shake him down and get some answers out of him. Like, who do you work for? Are you just a contractor? Are you an independent person? They don't really get a whole lot out of him. So Tyler leaves him alone and lets Pudge do whatever he wants with him. We see what Pudge ended up doing. Tyler didn't want Pudge to kill him, but Pudge kind of had to in the end. We'll get to that in a second. But Tyler then goes back home, and then the next day when he gets back to the club, he gets jumped by these 2 guys that he doesn't know. He thinks maybe they're the gang that was trying to sell product here yesterday. But they're not. They actually are given here by this lady called Karina Becker. And she is a talent consultant, and her job is to find people appropriate for her clients' needs. We don't know who her clients are, but I know that they need Tyler to do some dirty work. And Tyler used to be a dirty mercenary. He used to be a dirty person that did some wild things. And Tyler, he doesn't want to go back to that life. But he kind of gets pushed into a rough situation because he finds out Pudge ended up killing that guy, dumping his body in a garbage can, and it was all on camera. And that's not going to come back on Tyler. But then he goes in, why are you doing this? Why did you kill him? And Pudge has a pretty good reason, because the dude had some dirt on him and could have easily turned him into his father, and he would have been arrested, and who knows what would have happened. But then we continue on with Tyler going back to the club, and a huge gunfight happens because a gang or some rivals barged into the club. They ended up killing Vilma, who's the club owner, and Tyler sees a bomb on the desk, and he goes running out of there with Pudge, and a bomb goes off. The club is destroyed. Tyler has no other no other options. He has no job now because the club doesn't exist. So he calls back that woman, and they're going to have to do a job now with her and get $500,000 in a week. And hopefully she's okay with Pudge coming along. But I'm buying into this. Ignition Press always does a good job with their issue 1s. Really impressed by that one. It's a prequel to the Extraction movie coming out on Netflix. So if you're interested in that movie, I highly recommend this so that you can get even more, extra goodies for... Oh my gosh, I almost got a foot cramp. Yeah, that's insane. Oh, by the way, foot cramps are some of the worst things I think a human can experience. At least my foot cramps are insanely bad. But I'm buying into Tyler Rake and Extraction story. Highly recommend that one. Going back to Marvel, we have Wonder Man. This is issue number 1, 32 pages for 5 comics. I don't know if you guys can see this, but my comic was very blurry. At least the cover page was extremely blurry. And you go onto the inside, and even like this introduction or how to draw comics, even that was blurry. I don't know if any of y'all got that, but that was a deterrent right away. But this was a very happy and a very happy mood throughout the comic book. The art was solid. The book follows Simon's ups and downs in his life whenever he was getting a whole bunch of acting roles and making a bunch of money, to the current day where he's basically the underhand for this Randolph Chancellor character. And Simon is very jealous of this guy, and he used to work under him, and now he's the big dog. But Randy is not such a good person. He went to jail with Simon, and that's kind of how they originally got together. And Patsy is actually looking for Randy because he allegedly stole $13 million and also stole Simon's car. But he doesn't admit it, and he doesn't own up to it, even though Simon knows that that's probably what happened. But Randy's like, no, I borrowed it and then it got stolen from me whenever I had it. Which could actually be the truth if you follow along with this comic book. But throughout it, we see Simon and Patsy having continuous flirting. It appears that they will be the main characters of this book, as well as Simon's brother, potentially Eric Williams, who is the Grim Reaper, which is kind of weird to see after watching the show, and Eric is nothing like that. But at the very end, we see what happened to Simon's car, and Patsy really hopes Simon was not involved. The Wonder Man comic, it was okay, but it was not good enough to get me in and buy another issue. I am selling Wonder Man, unfortunately, not good enough, especially whenever it's only a 5-issue mini. If it was an ongoing, I would probably jump along because this is an intriguing character that I want to know more of, but you can't really tell a good story with a character with only 5 issues. I think that is probably the biggest hindrance on the Wonder Man new book. That's my biggest flaw with it. Next, the big boy of the week. I pulled a 1 in 25 of it. It's Daredevil. This is issue number 1, 32 pages, $6 for this book. It's just such a great start. This definitely lived up to the hype in my opinion. I think this book blew my expectations at least out of the water. I expected it to be good because I know Stephanie Phillips is a good writer. Lee Garbett is a good artist. But man, this really just hit everything that I wanted. It was gritty. It made me feel in tune with the world. It made me really catch up with what I missed because I didn't read the whole Saladin Ahmed run. I read the first issue and I just did not like it. I did not like John Romita Jr.'s artwork, so I could not read Daredevil. But this gives me a lot of that Chip Zdarsky era, where you really appreciated the grittiness of it, the realness of it, the genuineness of it. This feels like it is pulled right out of the Daredevil Born Again season 2 that is going on right now. And the villain, Omen, they, I don't know, but they are terrifying. But this book, it shows that Matt Murdock is currently a law professor at Empire State University. He meets this character of, I believe her name is Sari Ellison, not Sarah, not Carrie, not Caro, Sari, S-A-R-I, kind of weird, but she teaches the class after him, and we get an update on a murder investigation, crime scene, where it looks like Omen has taken these eyes out of this poor guy that just rode the subway. And the thing that I really liked about this Daredevil issue is that it hit all the key characteristics of the Daredevil character. He goes out and has a drink with this buddy of his at a local bar. It's not Josie's, and the friend is not Foggy. And then he goes and kicks some ass in the Daredevil, or in the Hell's Kitchen alleys, like Daredevil always does. By the way, that suit just looks so good. I think the suit for Daredevil in this new ongoing looks absolutely amazing. But he goes back to his house because he hears something happening, and Omen is there. And Daredevil's like, who are you? What do you want? Omen needs him to deliver a message to Matt Murdock. Omen kind of starts to put 2 and 2 together. Maybe the person of Omen thinks that Matt Murdock is Daredevil, or Daredevil is Matt Murdock. And Omen pushes Daredevil and whoops him very well whoops his ass. I gotta just get used to just cursing. I guess it's just something that I have to do. Whoops his ass, pushes him out of the glass windows, out of his apartment, and falls however many stories down on top of a car. And Matt is in a terrible way. Looks like he's in a boatload of pain. This makes me feel like the stakes are at the highest. And Omen, by the way, he or they, whatever the character is gender-wise, they were able to know how he was going to fight because Omen has the ability to see into the future. And the secret that he wanted to get to Matt Murdock is very important. So I'm going to recommend that you read this because I don't want to spoil the secret. But Daredevil issue number 1, buy it. It is so good. Stephanie Phillips did such a great job with an introduction to a series that gets me with the stakes being so high. The characters that were introduced with even Lauren Baker, one of the students in Matt's law class. It just gets you to want to read more of it. And I can't wait. The next issue comes out later this month, April 29th. But guys, let me know down in the comments what book y'all are buying or selling. What did y'all think of Daredevil issue 1 and all these other issue 1s? Are you going to continue them or are you not? Let me know down in the comments. Please like and subscribe as well if you enjoy comic book content. And guys, keep remembering to read those comics panel by panel. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.